Well, good evening. How's everyone doing? After a week away, we are back with vengeance to talk about, in my opinion, an absolute superb Grand Prix of the weekend. How you doing, Andy?
Not too bad. We've just quickly got to review the Mexican Grand Prix. I think
that's it.
It was like a old boy Mexican guy who's had a couple of tequilas and decided to go on a siesta. It wasn't worth talking about. It was not the best. But Max Verstappen won that one, taking a 1-0 lead into the triple header. Big talking point was that he just absolutely flew away and there was no catching him. Basically, that's all we can really say about the Mexican Grand Prix.
All I can say is they could have been worse Grand Prix we could have missed, if you know what I mean. So So we've got an evening, boys, from somebody. Obviously, being a Facebook user, not too sure. So please just do it again with your obviously with your name, because we don't know who you are.
Yeah, your number? Can we have your number? Can you give us your credit card details, everything?
Address, everything. And we got it again. Do we know who it is, or are we on Facebook?
I'm trying to find out who this is. Let me just have a quickly look on the comments. But we've got to talk about this amazing track. As you can see in the background of ourselves, we've got the Brazilian Grand Prix in Sao Paulo, Interlagos, after a 2-year wait, because obviously it was cancelled last year. I believe it's Martin, because he's just messaged me now. So, evening, Martin.
Evening, mate.
Before I quickly, just want to big rumor mill going around today. If anybody has seen it, is supposedly Audi has purchased McLaren Group. That is not the case at all, and they want you to stop reporting on it. McLaren have come out with this. McLaren Group is aware the news media report stating it has been sold to Audi. This is wholly inaccurate, and McLaren is seeking to have this story removed. So anybody thinking that McLaren's up for sale, they're not. So just
next week's story.
It's Porsche. It's Porsche will be taking over next year. Oh, I'm joining you again.
We should not have those for a while.
No. Anyway.
Right.
This stunning track, Interlagos.
I love this track.
You can hear it in your voice. You absolutely love this track. I do. Been a staple of the F1 calendar for many, many years, and never fails to disappoint. It really doesn't. And it was the last of the sprint races, this new concept that we had this year. This was one of the 3, and we're having 6 next year. So what a weekend to go back to Brazil. So Paul,
perfect for this track.
Yeah, it's absolutely perfect. It's got, do you know something what I really love about this track is, especially in the races, the back-to-back DRS zones.
Yeah.
It's literally straight off one, and I think it's on the pitch straight, isn't it? And then they're going to turn 1 and 2 and 3, and then it's another DRS zone before turn 4, and then it goes into the slow manoeuvring section. So it offers a bit of everything. No surprise, Mr. Hamilton leading the board there. Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen was in a Mercedes sandwich. Not, it's a Mercedes favourite track, isn't it? At the end of the day, you know that, don't you, Paul?
Yeah. It's a speedy track. When you watch it, you realise how quick this track is. And I mean, going back a little bit, touching on the Mexican Grand Prix, I remember saying with that it's just one of those tracks which doesn't excite me. When this one goes the other way completely, I mean, the start finish straight is not straight. The elevation on it is just amazing, and also as well the weather. You just don't know what the weather's going to be at this time of year with Brazil. So it is suited to the Mercs. Whether basically Red Bull think they're cheating or not, the cars always perform well at this circuit.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Whether they think they're cheating. Just saying about that, your start finish straight. Do you know the people at the back of the grid can't see people sat in pole because it's on an incline? It's quite funny. And the people that are sat from 10th to 15th have to keep their foot on the brake before they can take off because they actually could roll back. But yeah, so as you just heard there, Paul dropped it that there's a bit of shenanigans going on. So obviously we've just seen that Lewis Hamilton's qualified. He qualified in first place, and Inspector Verstappen to the ready. So, in a nutshell, Paul, can you explain that to the viewers? What was he doing? And well, one, he shouldn't be doing it. Full stop.
Yeah, I think the clues in the name, it was in Parc Ferme, so therefore, in essence, they are supposed to be parked up, and then that is pretty much about it. In the best of, my biggest problem with the whole thing is sportsmanship. Okay, so we look at it from a sportsmanship point of view. He was going to test that back wing to test how flimsy it is, or how much sort of what they've done to obviously what they've done to create a car which is quicker than basically their current car, current the Red Bull. Regardless of what Max was basically saying about it, or anybody else from Red Bull, it just simply is basically. Yeah, being nosy, maybe.
I mean, do you remember? But the funny thing is, we remember from seasons back that Inspector Vettel used to do this all the time?
Yeah, but he did tyres. His was tyres, wasn't it? More than anything.
Yeah, but obviously the FIA have now got to step it up with Parc Ferme. They've already said that they've been a bit too relaxed in allowing this to happen. But obviously. They did find something, and Lewis was disqualified from qualifying, so therefore had to start the back of the sprint race.
How much of it was he disqualified for? So just remind me on how big the gap was.
18 millimeters.
No.
Was it not?
No.
It's not a lot.
0.2 millimeters.
Yeah, but it's anything, isn't it? And it is only on one side.
Yeah,
it wasn't the full wing.
I just think it's ridiculous. Anyway,
but we so obviously Lewis got disqualified, therefore would have to start the sprint race from the back of the grid, just for the sprint race only. Also, Lewis was carrying a 5 grid place penalty for the feature race anyway. So at the minute, he's been downgraded 25 places. Obviously, if you don't, you can easily do your math. There's only 20 cars, so they have to do it. Work that one out.
Start off round the back of the halfway around the track. Yeah.
But I feel really, really sorry for Max. He's got to pay a €50,000 fine. And this is what he had to say about it.
And finally from me, Max, can we get your reaction to the reprimand and the fine that you received from the stewards this morning?
It's quite a big fine, so I hope they have a nice dinner and a lot of wine. I hope good expensive wine, that would be nice. And they can invite me for dinner as well, I'll pay for that there too.
Do you have to pay it or the team?
I do have to pay.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so that's a little bit less FIFA points for me than on my laptop.
Thank you, Max, and good luck in the Grand Prix tomorrow.
I don't think he could have handled that any better, to be honest. Fair play to Max on that one.
He also, he also, I think it was in an interview with Martin Brundle. He turned around and said, Martin asked him if he needed to lend him some money to pay for it, and he turned around and said, I might well need to. So, obviously taken seriously in the grand scheme of things, wasn't he? So.
Not like he said he was giving up FIFA points there. It's not like he flies in and out of races on his own private jet. So how's yeah, I know. How is he going to live? How is he going to live? He's going to have to take the bus to the circuit from now on. Just on that.
Oh, bless him.
Bless him. But fair play, Max. Get a bit of humour on that one. I have to give him that. So the sprint race, Bottas obviously finished first in that one, collecting the extra 3 points for himself.
That's just so silly, isn't it? It's so silly.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't even look interested when they were going up there. It's like, oh, it's a reef. I think they actually like. Yeah, he chucked it off, didn't it? And then Carlos Sainz finishing third place, and that was all the points up for grabs on that one. But where did Lewis finish? From 20th. Remember, it started in 20th place in the sprint race.
It's the funny thing about this is we were debating this yesterday because, as you might know with me, I watched it on a delayed broadcast because I was basically watching the background, or I was going to watch it fully and I knew it was going to be a great race. And we were debating basically where it was starting. For some reason, we thought it was starting 11th, which would have been a 6th place.
That's for the main race, wasn't it?
So basically, but it started 20th in the sprint, and then got up to obviously amazing.
Made 4 places before the first corner.
Yeah, it was stupid. If you're ever going to talk about a guy who was possessed, who was on a mission, I've never seen someone drive the wheels off a car, regardless how much faster your car is, regardless on anything at all.
Regardless whether it's the best car, regardless whether it's the best car on there, and it is one of the best cars on there. It takes a great driver to drive it the way that he has, to get up to 5th place, and then, Gevers it was just a little bit of a starter for us, wasn't it? Before the main course on Sunday, if he can make up that amount of places, what were we going to get? And we're going to get this showdown. This is going to the wire at the minute, and I am loving it.
Whoa. Bring that back up again. What? Doesn't even look like Lewis Hamilton.
No, it's a bad
Where have
edit.
you got that from?
F1 page. It was actually tweeted by F1 themselves.
Sorry.
We know somebody who can work with Adobe F1. Could probably do a bit better. But it did. It set us up for something that was just going to be fantastic. Yeah. I mean, you just didn't. You knew that Lewis was going to get on the podium. That was the thing. Obviously, before we get a bit more into that, we got a bit of a coming together on the start between Lando. Lando seemed to get a massive jump on Carlos, and then Carlos, as he's tried to. He'd like to make one defensive move, wasn't he? Because he did. He started to go over to the right, and then Lando just timed it wrong to bring himself back in, and Carlos didn't have to, causing a puncture. But that launch he got was amazing. But it was all about when was Hamilton going to get him? When was Hamilton going to get this? And it was all down to. I can remember some of the team radios with Lewis. He's like, is the undercut on? Is it good? Is it strong? Is like, no, it's not going to work. Do you know what?
Before you go into this, though, what I was really disappointed with, and I was cursing the TV, was Valtteri once again just bottled it, just absolutely bottled it, and it was like, I mean, luckily Lewis can do it on his own because. It just bottled it on that first corner.
But Max pulled the perfect move, running it up in wide into turn 1, so you've got the inside line going into turn 2.
No, I've got to agree with this because even though I wasn't watching it live with him,
you're thinking of me.
I could tell. I could just tell the moment Lando did it, and it was just to touch it on it again because I love Lando nearly as much as this guy.
I've moved on to somebody else.
Yeah, quite clearly. Yeah. I don't know if you got the clip for Lando. Call.
No, I couldn't get. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it.
Oh, that's a shame. It's a bit like the Max thing, wasn't it? That they couldn't get the actual.
Yeah. We'll get
that in a minute. But it was definitely Lando's fault when he pulled him. I think that was the.
Yeah, and it went down as a racing incident. I mean. Yeah. I did think just do you know with how the stewards have been this year in making decisions and the way that had when Sainz did do that to basically try and close that gap, but obviously he's on the green paint. I was wondering, are they going to look at that and say that's too much and you're putting him in a dangerous position? But I'm glad it was just a racing incident. They're friends at the end of the day. I don't think even Lando complained about it.
No, Sainz actually turned around, didn't he? When he turned around and said, "There's nothing I could have done," and that's literally there was no moan at Lando. There was no, oh, he's crazy, he's all this other stuff. It was literally just I couldn't do anything. Basically, Lando pulled in on me. Anyway,
he defended his line. Move on to the hunt. The hunt was on, and. So this was gearing up. Obviously, like I say, pit strategies came in, and Mercedes did so well with their strategies just to get Lewis within a chance. And I mean, it wasn't easy by any stretch of the imagination. And we got with 20 laps ish to go. This is when things started to get a bit tasty because it's the middle sector that Max was really good at. And Lewis wasn't, but that Mercedes on the straights, especially like we were just saying about the double DRS that we've got back to back.
Yeah,
that's where Lewis could get in, but he had to be within 4 seconds of him from the first DRS zone to then take it into the next one to even give himself a chance. So we've got that. I've got a video clip of that incident, Paul, of Max Verstappen. And I've just had an email now for, and the video's come through of the onboard camera as well. So I'll show you. Yeah, I'll show you. Once we show this, so this is what we were on about.
Okay.
I haven't really, but this is the onboard camera. Sorry, Max. How did you not? You've seen how tight that corner is before. You have to swing it out wide, but you've got to put some turning. He opened that up a bit. He didn't.
I have a theory on this. I have a theory on this, and I was waiting to sort of talk to you about it now. My theory on this is Max knows that Lewis has got more to lose in that situation. So in other situations they've had before where they push Lewis to the limit or Max to the limit, they would basically both go into each other. In the situation where Max would end up taking Lewis out, if Lewis tried to take him on, Max wins because obviously neither of them score points. So my theory is Max knew that Lewis would back out. And if he didn't do, it's a win-win situation for him. And I don't care what anyone says. That is just as equally, just as challenging of what happened when they came together in what was called a terrible incident from Hamilton.
It's as well. But Lewis composed himself, as Martin's commented there.
Yeah, I tried to bring it up, and then there you go.
Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Lost a bit of grit, but he had the line, good racing. I believe. To be fair, the move, but the thing was, the move on Max was made quite early, going into that before that corner came up, and it is tight. But Max knew what he's doing because as long as he could hit that apex, which he did, he'd get away with it. He could get a bit of understeer or oversteer, whatever, and it'll go.
Yeah, I just think you ask. I think it was normally after the race when you're asking the guys who are the ex-drivers.
Yeah, but they were Brundle. Even Brundle's just like, I'm surprised he's got away with that. I mean, Mercedes were on to Michael Masi quite a lot. Telling Valtteri as well that there should be some penalties coming in. And then when Lewis found out there was no penalties, what did Lewis say? He just went, all right, okay, just crack on. He knew by that point, he was already like, I can't lose focus. I'm still on the back of him. And he finally got the overtake done. That was the main thing. Yeah,
I actually think, just to come back to that, though, because obviously we're talking about how Mercedes were onto the radio. The first radio was Red Bull saying, let the drivers race. To me, that was them worried. I think they were worried basically initially that something might happen, and it was the right thing to do to carry on racing. I'm not saying there should have been a penalty, by the way, because it would have taken away what Lewis actually did for the rest of the race. But I think there needs to be consistency.
And we don't have that. We don't have that race. We don't have that at all. And that's important. The reason we don't have that is because it's a different jury panel every single race. It's fair. It's the fairest way. Really, people don't understand that. But then, should Michael Masi have a little bit more say? Because at the minute, I was watching it with Martin yesterday, and in Martin and I just feel sorry for him. He's like, he can't do anything. He's a race director. He can't do anything.
He's the sounding board, though. Yeah, I feel sorry for him because he's seeing these on an absolute.
He takes a lot.
Muddy.
Oh yeah. Issuing fines out of €50,000 and
exactly.
But no, he does. He gets a lot of heat at one time, and he's like, "There's nothing I can do. I can just highlight these things, but I can't make the decisions." But the move, and Lewis finally got it, and it was only a matter
past them. Yeah, so Lewis made Max defend tight down into turn 1. That left him out of shape in 2 and 3 and vulnerable down to turn 4. And of course, he's got greater speed. Now it's Verstappen in the dirty air as well. So that is critical track advantage there.
We've seen Lewis Hamilton here at Interlagos before.
Beautiful work, Lewis.
Start 20th on the grid and finish 4th. We've seen.
Yeah, what a move! What a move! It's just unreal.
The move which he finally got, he just I think Martin's just put a comment on, which basically was Lewis backed away because he knew he'd get him next time. It was just the fact that he knew he had him. Max knew he had him, and it was just the guy was possessed for the whole weekend. The whole team were, to be fair. The only thing you haven't shown, I don't think you've obviously got it because obviously you've moved across this one. So Andy, by the way, puts all these together. So kudos to him. So when I say this, it doesn't mean that he's made a mistake or anything like that. But it was the one before which was quite interesting, which highlights the actual track on how good it is, which was when Lewis basically passed him and then Max came back at him, obviously on the following. So it was that shows the highlight, obviously, what Interlagos is all about. But in general, obviously, Lewis was just possessed. He was
a man on the mission. And Martin said a couple of weeks ago when we had that whole discussion about this triple header that wasn't the triple header we thought it was. It was actually this. Do you know what I mean? And Martin came out the winner on that one.
He's got to win something.
Whoever comes out on top out of this, obviously, like we said with Mexico. Was 1-0 already to Max, getting up there. Lewis had to win this one, so it's also Lewis knew he had to win this one or get somewhere, because how it works out right now, from what I was reading today, and I'm doing a quick, if Lewis finishes first for the next 2 races and Max finishes second without the fastest lap, they go into deadlock into Abu Dhabi. So it makes Abu Dhabi just, worth watching. Do you know what I mean? It really does. But this just shows you it was. I think that was also Lewis saying, "I'm not bending over for you. I am still here. You may be leading it, but I'm still here, and I'm going to hunt you down." What Mercedes need to do now is get Bottas, because he said like this is the thing. I saw a thing today. He's like Ayrton Senna on a Friday practice, followed by a Prost on a qualifying, and then he's like Kevin Shanduk or whatever his name is. Come race day, just gives positions back.
I stand by my point I made. I mean, obviously it's later on in the year now anyway, so it would have been all been sorted. But I stand by the fact that early doors they turned around and said he was going.
And it's coming to bite him.
It's coming to bite him on the ass, and I just think that they could have waited. If they knew it was going to go on, they knew it could have waited. And it's the fact that they've said it publicly when they could have. I mean, I know there's politics involved, and in the ideal world, it wouldn't have been the case. But I still think going into the last 3 races, I still right. So let's get this right. So Mercedes probably got the better car. Okay.
Straight line speed, they've got the better car. Straight line
going
speed,
into 3 fast tracks, they've got the better car. They've got the more experienced driver. The danger point for me is still what I was saying regarding that corner maneuver, which happened obviously with Interlagos yesterday, was that if Max takes Lewis out, okay, Max wins. Okay,
so you're doing a Prost Senna moment here, then.
Yeah, I think we're going into that sort of, and the way Max was driving yesterday, in my opinion, he knows that. The way the team set up, the way sort of obviously the Red Bull themselves, including Mr. Team Principal himself. I'm not going to say his name because I struggle with him sometimes.
Jerry Halliwell's.
Yeah.
Spice Boy.
Yeah, Spice Boy. I think he's setting himself up for that as well. He knows that they've got the upper hand, providing it's all about basically mental. I think they're gonna.
I'm not surprised. Nothing. I've been waiting for something to come out in the news today, actually. So do you know? Obviously, when Brundle does his grid walks, got to the back of the Red Bull. And they were pointing at it, and all of a sudden there was this human shield around the back of their wing.
Yeah.
Because obviously they've been changing certain things. Now, maybe something will come out later. They're up to something. 100% they're up to something. They're trying to work out, how do we get this straight line speed? I mean, not bothered. I agree with Paul that yeah, well, that's how F1 politics.
Yeah, it's politics, isn't it?
It is. Maybe it could have been waited a little bit sooner, but I think also media pressure played a massive part on that one, and a bit sick of it. I think the contract was signed ages before. But
did you watch the interviews afterwards? Basically, did you watch the interviews after the race, or did you stop watching it?
I stopped watching it at that point.
Okay,
I watched brief bits today.
Okay, so there's a bit around Christian, basically with Mr. Spice Boy Horner, where. He was asked by. Is
this the one with Paul? Oh, by Paul di Resta? Was it Paul?
Yeah.
Asked him. Yeah.
So, are you going to basically? Are you going to find some? Pretty much. Are you going to find something on Mercedes, and will you basically be asking to investigate? And to me, it's just sour grapes. They just turned around and went, "No, we'll leave it in the capable hands of the FIA." I think the general rule of thumb is that they've got ahead of them. Okay, they've sat behind them all year, and they've got ahead of them. And I think Red Bull have had their pants pulled down with it. I think literally they've sat there, and they've not brought any updates because they asked Max. They turned around and went, "Are you going to get any upgrades before the end of the season?" No. So they thought they had this. They thought they had them, and suddenly Mercedes have pulled it out, and. Tactically, they've got him.
Yeah, where Toto and the master that he is keeps cards close to his his chest and likes to play the bluff, and that's what he's done. because they did tail off towards the final third of the season, which we're in now. At the start of that, Mercedes just didn't look like they were going to do anything.
I also think they pulled the trigger too early as well. So Red Bull pulled the trigger too early by replacing Max's engine as well. So what they've done is they've replaced the engine. Was it about 2 or 3 races ago? Too early.
Yeah,
they've done it too early.
These engine changes, by the way, which you'll have 3 in a season.
Yeah,
and you do have to change it, correct?
Yeah.
So why are you getting penalties for it? If you have to change it by FIA rules because it's not, because they can't because
I
of
suppose
carbon
it's
emissions.
where you. I suppose it's supposed to get the words out. It's round where you change it, isn't it? More than the fact you have to change it. I think it adds to part of the tactics of when you would do it, and it means that you would put it over a season. In my opinion, I think that's why they do it, rather than replacing all the engines in the first 3 races, for instance. Eating humble pie in madness.
Little Jack Horner sat in the corner.
Yeah.
That's his son.
Yeah. But I do think they've got it wrong. I think they've now got an inferior car. I know you're talking about straight line speed, but let's talk about how many times have we said on this show that the Mercedes cannot follow cars.
Can't.
So what has Lewis done this weekend?
He's
pretty much followed all the way through.
Yeah, but also he had to change his style. So go back to the sprint race. I mean, this is the one that everyone is commending. And it was a great move on Lando. But remember, Lando's not going to be fighting with him because he's got 5 positions. He's like, I'm not going to fight with Lewis because I'm going to get that position back because he's got 5 grid penalty. He can attack from further back because if he gets too close, he gets into turbulent air. When he's in turbulent air, that's when he gets nowhere near him. So that's why, yes, it looked like he was gaining. Then all of a sudden, in the first DRS zone and the pitch straight, it looked like he just hit a brick wall. And that he did. They can't get that close. So he's worked it out over the course of the weekend. And that's what he used the sprint race for, to see what he could get away with and how far back he can take lunges. Because if you look at a lot of his overtakes, they're all done in the same place.
It's the DRS zones, isn't there? It's DRS zones because you can't. The thing is that the Red Bull was faster. It wasn't even about. It wasn't even about obviously following. In my opinion, they were faster on obviously through the last part of the track. That's why Lewis took a little while to get past him because Max was actually faster than him on that. Obviously, just as you're approaching the start finish. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. But when I'm seeing Lewis behind a train of 5 cars, okay, which stretch half of the pit finish straight, and he's still basically putting in faster laps in. To me, it shows that they've looked at that Merc, they've worked on it, and they know that they've worked on it, so it can now go behind other cars. I think that's a championship winning team.
Yeah, or it's the track. We don't know. You don't know. It's just this track, and I think this is really hard to compare it to anything because we don't see it very often from Lewis from the back of the car. The only time he ever sees one of the back markers is if he's lapping them.
It's either what I'm saying, okay, or all the stars are falling in the right place. And it just happens to be Brazil where it's done it, but this hasn't happened before.
Maybe Senna was there.
Yeah,
you don't know. Yeah. No, I mean, it was just a lot of some of these bullish moves did look like Senna-esque. The one thing I forgot to say about the sprint race, which was amazing, funny as from Lewis, he started from the back. It's a long wait when you sat at the front. Much. How slow was he going? The safety car nearly overtook him.
I know. I
but
saw
it's
that.
Clever because it means he's got hotter tyres, and he just knew what he was doing, and he kept him waiting. And that's the sign of a true professional. I think I read somewhere this is the 4th time in his whole career he started at the back of the grid. 4 times.
I bet Red Bull will probably moan about the fact that he kept Max waiting at the front, and they'll demand a rule change.
He's probably moved him. He probably has already. But
right, well,
yeah.
Silence for a second. We've been ordered to mention, for some reason, the Ferraris.
Only because he was like, look, when I was sat with him yesterday, like, look at the Ferraris sitting there 5th and 6th. By the way, I was getting to the Ferraris. We've got a few more things to come. Martin did say 5th and 6th. He goes, that's where they'll be all race. And they were. And they were. Not great for me.
So what we're saying, it's an honourable mention, the fact that they're 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
Best of the rest. That's what we're calling them.
But no, they shut up shop. They tactically played it right. They're like, we'll sit here. You're there, 2 Ferraris back with each other. That's it. They're looking to try and they're setting third place in the constructors. So I'm going to have to move on to that, before we talk about Lewis a little bit more. This is. Let me get this right. That's it. So that's how it is at the minute. It's tight. It was tighter, but McLaren and Ferrari are competing for third place, and obviously Red Bull and Mercedes competing for the first place. At the minute,
sorry.
Yeah, it's one of them at the minute. It's like we could have really done with them points this weekend. We ended up coming out with 1 point. Danny Ricciardo retired, but fair play to Ferrari. The last 2 races, they've been consistent, and something's just not gone right for McLaren. But there's 2 unknown races coming with Qatar and Jeddah, and we'll see what happens there. But so, yeah, it looks like the Drivers' Championship's coming down to the wire, and so it's the Constructors' positionings at the minute. We've got 2 battles between 4 teams at the minute for bragging rights.
I just want to make a point with this whole Ferrari thing. In the UK, so if you're watching outside the UK right now, there's a very famous comedy show called Only Fools and Horses. And I'd like to say the whole comment at this time next year, Ferrari will be challenging for the title, which is something they've been saying since Schumacher left them back. Or was it Alonso? Was it Alonso last time that won the title?
Kimi.
It was still about 15 years ago, wasn't it?
Mate, don't say that, because when was McLaren's last? Lewis Hamilton back in.
I know, but you're not saying this time next year.
But to be fair to Ferrari, and I have to give it to him, they've been on the podium every single race this year.
Yeah.
Because the champagne company is Ferrari. That's what Ajax. There we go again. Yeah. I feel like we're losing our way a little bit here.
Yeah.
So, got to get back to Lewis. They're paying homage to the Brazilian fans, getting up on the podium with the flag. Obviously, it's also down to being a massive fan of Ayrton Senna. And he had gone back, put a little bit of a tribute on his helmet this weekend as well to Senna. Obviously, Lewis's traditional helmet is actually Senna colours, not the one that he has at the minute. His last couple of seasons, he's changed it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
But it's getting exciting. It really is getting exciting up there at the top at the minute. This is so tight, too tight to call. It really is. We don't want another collision. That's the thing. We can't. It was all right halfway through the season, but I am a British fan. Whether it's a driver, I mean, McLaren is obviously my chosen team, but I'm a British race driving fan, and I want to see, as much as it pains me, because I used to really love Michael Schumacher as well. Grew up in that era of Schumacher, and then actually going back into it and now watching Hamilton. To get that 8th world title, there's nothing else for him to achieve, is there, in Formula One, in my opinion?
I just think we need to go back to reality check here, that we're watching a driver who you're probably not going to see dominate the way he's dominated. Especially with the car changes coming in, and he just happens to be British. So I don't get why. I mean, okay, I know we've got allegiances to McLaren. My car has always been McLaren. I've loved McLaren, but at this point in time, how can you not champion Lewis Hamilton? What's the?
I think this is it, though.
Especially the way he drives.
I think the majority of race fans that are out there will support their own driver from their country, or from their respected country, but they will also have their own team. Do you know what I mean? It's like the Finns. They probably follow Kimi Räikkönen, whatever team that he goes to, but they love Bottas as well. It's one of them, and I like I say, I'm a British race driver, all the way down to like George Russell. You know, obviously Lando Norris is at McLaren, but if he was at another team, then I'd be gunning for him as well. It's
okay. I liken it to basically that if you were choosing another sport which is very close to our hearts, okay. If you're looking at Lionel Messi, okay, if not being the best basic player in the world for the last 20 years, obviously debate up with another great in Cristiano Ronaldo. Even if you're not Argentinian, you will basically look at that player and you go, yes, he's the best player in the world. He's done everything. Although I find the basis British. I mean, this kind of like, I'm going off topic a little bit, but actually not, because if you look at the celebrations for the weekend and how the Brazilians have got behind Lewis Hamilton, it's not just because of Senna. They look at him and they realise how much of a great driver this individual is, and we will probably never see someone who is that naturally talented. And you can talk about a guy who people forget that he upped out of McLaren and went to Mercedes at the right time. So it's not just about, he could have stayed at McLaren for another couple of years, or he could have gone to Mercedes early and not basically got
he replaced Schumacher, didn't he? He replaced Schumacher because Nico was there, and you know, he moved. I'd say he moved at the right time. Yeah. Because that's where McLaren weren't getting the performances anymore, because Mercedes Works team, which is obviously what he is now, were basically dumbing down the engines to McLaren. So he just saw the opportunity and went, you know what? But he was Mercedes contracted, wasn't he? If I remember rightly, he was a Mercedes contracted driver, not a. Ron Dennis brought him on, so he was under the. He's always drove for Mercedes, because it was wasn't it? It's McLaren Mercedes Benz for a long time before Mercedes came in.
Yeah, I think the actual contract terms, basically, whether it's Mercedes or whether it's McLaren, at the start he came through. Obviously, there was an interesting thing actually, just to sort of that he likened this result this weekend to one of the moment, which was basically when he got dropped by Mercedes driving out of F1. So before he got his F1 move,
F2,
being dropped in F2, wasn't he, or F3? And he likened it to that. So yeah, he might have been Mercedes all the way through, but that moment, that timing, when he left McLaren to go to a team, he could have stayed another year. He could have left a year earlier. Yeah, he didn't. He went at that point, and yeah.
Timing's everything in this. It is one of them sports where you can get longevity out of it, but it's also a sport where if you're not wanted, they get rid of you. Look at Alex Albon. Quite quickly was in and out. He is back next year, obviously. So you've got to be something special. There's got to be something there, and he was special. That's why he got bought so early. I was actually again talking to Martin about it yesterday. It's like, I know there's people that hate Lewis out there that go, he's always had the best car. He's always had this, because he was the best kart driver, best F2, he's best everything. Yeah. But at the same time, McLaren, who took him on, took a massive gamble on this kid, and it paid off in the first season, because he 10 points away from the World Championship in his first season. Second season, went and did it. And
you could say the same about Max, that basically when Red Bull took him on at 18 and thrust him into that car, they put him in their top car because he was a top talented driver within that age, basically, or even beyond that. So
he didn't come through Toro Rosso, did it?
He did Toro Rosso for 6 months or whatever it was, and then got transferred in because Kvyat basically absolutely.
Torpedo.
Torpedo. So he basically Kvyat went, and then Verstappen replaced him. So
this is the thing for me.
Yeah.
Let's keep talking about like Lewis. Like when someone asks me about Lewis Hamilton and they say, "Can you pick out one race?" I'm going to pick this weekend. Is that defined? Not.
Yeah.
He's already defined himself, but this defines him as why he's so good as a driver.
Yeah.
This is by far the best race that I've seen Lewis Hamilton ever do, and there is a lot to pick from as well. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying like this is the only time he's performed, because evidently not. He's a 7-time world champion, but this proves why he's a 7-time world champion.
Well, this is the moment, isn't it? If he goes on and wins this title, this is the moment everyone will look back. If you can look at montage of videos of sort of previous wins or how he does things, they will literally play this one for years.
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
Iconic. It's an icon. It's his iconic in his career.
Yeah,
and I do still hold to my comment. If this 8th world title comes this season, I think that's it. And he can go. I think he will go. I don't think he's going to stick around for another year. End on a high. I would like to. I was going to say do a Nico Rosberg, but no, don't do. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, but we've got the last of the triple header next week, going to Losail in Qatar under the lights, and that looks fast. Unknown to us, Paul, unless you watch MotoGP. Unless you watch MotoGP, this is unknown, but this car, but you need quality to drive. Not many could handle those cars at speed. Lewis also wants more respect shown from the drivers. He says that swearing is getting out of hand because of Netflix and the kids watch, and they are role models, especially to him. It's who's coming? Is that not? Yeah, He's gone back to Facebook user, isn't it? He wants respect, but I'm not sure about this swearing thing. You drive, everyone drive. You know, people who drive road rage, and these guys are top of their game. You know what I mean? If we can't get rid of it out of football, we can't going to get it out of this.
I think what he's basically alluding to is the theatre of it. So when someone's saying it, because generally they're sort of up against the pressure. Sometimes they are just saying it just to get a bit of theatre in there. So I think that might be what he's alluding to.
But then anyway, it's up to Netflix then, isn't it? What they choose to air.
Yeah. But yeah, go back to Qatar, whatever you want to call it.
Losail.
Completely unknown. Looking forward to it to a point. Bit nervous from a Hamilton point of view because it is unknown. It reminds
very similar to Bahrain.
It reminds me of Bahrain. I like Bahrain as a track, so I'm hoping it's going to be a good one. Yeah.
I mean, I've watched it MotoGP, which is a completely different element altogether.
Yeah. I don't know what to say. Even you're just pausing reading it.
He's lost. I'm sidetracked now.
Yeah. That's.
No, I've seen it with the MotoGP. It's an awesome track for the two-wheel kind. Very wide open. Not very forgiving, shall we say. It is a mix between, I'd say, Qatar and Abu Dhabi with the runoff areas. So you've got some gravel, some not. But it's fast. And if you want to base it on the track of Bahrain, then it's going to be a Mercedes favourite. It should be.
Right, just we've forgotten something.
What have we forgotten?
What we haven't rated.
We haven't finished the show yet.
Is that what we do? We finished. I thought we were moving on with.
No.
Okay, all right.
All right. Well, no, we can do that. We can do that now.
Yeah.
Obviously, Martin, who normally joins us, is not with us. He's obviously commenting down there and really putting me off. He marked it. Right. Okay. So, next one's Qatar. This is being brought in because Australia isn't going ahead again this year, unfortunately. But anyway, so we're going to be marking him. Martin, he's done it again. Stop bringing his comments up. Martin marked this race in Brazil 7 out of 10.
Boo.
I'm marking it as 7 out of 10 as well.
Yeah, you're both wrong.
No, we're not. You can't be wrong on an opinion. And if you're going to mark it 10 out of 10 because of one individual person's race, then you've not looked at it as a whole race.
I'm going to mark it 10 out of 10 because it was an absolute phenomenal race in general.
What coverage have you got that we haven't?
I'm telling you now, it's the first race this season that myself and my wife were sitting on the settee, okay, and we were jumping up and down. And that wasn't just because of Hamilton; it was because of what was going on around it. So it was all the antics of being desperately trying to stop Lewis from winning, or Bottas thinking that he could do a 1-2, or even Lando losing his wheel, losing his tyre. It was a great race. It was just so. It was 10 out of 10 for me, and I am not wrong, Facebook user, and that's why you are a Facebook user, because you're wrong.
No. You've based that. You've literally picked out so when then that's not doing it justice to the races that we judged a 10 out of 10, because when we've judged them at a 10 out of 10 before, we looked at it as a whole race where there was so much going on further down the grid.
For me,
you've not said anything about further down the grid. You looked at the first top 4 places.
For me, it was 10 out of 10. I loved it. It was a brilliant race for me. I love the track.
Unfortunately, it's not going to get top points, is it? So it's 24 out of 30.
But that's fine. But if that's your opinion, and
can't be wrong. It's your opinion. Fair enough. It's your opinion. I just look at things in a different way, and that's good. I'll show you. I'm glad he spotted it, because I was raising my eyebrows when you said that. Me and my wife were jumping up and down in the room. This, by the way, is a pre-Watershed show, so we can't go into that detail. Come back for the F1 show X-rated later, where we'll have all the drivers swearing and this and jumping up and
down the settees on sofa.
All right, steady on, Paul. Other people, joining in.
before 8 o'clock.
As always, right, this is just really tailed off towards the end. Badly.
Why did you put that comment back up again?
I haven't touched it. I'm doing something else. Anyway, right. Yeah. So we got 24 out of
wrong.
It's not wrong. Opinions can't be wrong. On a whole, it was a great weekend. I'm looking forward to more sprint races next season. I'm sure you are. I love the concept of them.
Yeah.
Do you think they're going to keep with the same 3 sprint races as a staple? And what would the other 3 be, do you think? Don't say Monaco.
Imagine it. Imagine the uproar.
So I assume the same with these 3.
Yeah, I mean, they could do.
Yeah, first race.
Depends on what comes back next year. Because obviously, if they bring back Australia has to be one.
No, Australia's not the first race of the season next year, is it? It's Bahrain.
No, it's not.
And then Jeddah.
To me, with sprint races, they have to be shorter tracks. So, as in, like Brazil was a shorter track, physical track.
Monza, though, that's the quickest track of the season. It's not the shortest; it's one of the quickest because it's
doing the Canada. They're doing Canada next year.
I've not heard anything. Do you know why I like to see a sprint race? Circuit of the Americas.
No.
Oh, I think Lewis.
Too much.
No. It can't be Spa then. If you're saying short, it can't be Spa.
I'm saying Canada. Canada would be one.
So we've got Brazil, Silverstone, Monza, which obviously is the 3 that we had this year. Canada.
Could they do it in Singapore, potentially?
That's if that comes back.
Mm.
China's back next year.
Yeah.
Is China back next year? Yeah, China's back next year. I'm sure it's next year. No, the year after. Sorry, it's not back next year. Yeah, I like the concept of him. I know it's varied people's opinions with these sprint races, but it adds that extra bit of spice to it, and I personally enjoy it. But obviously, we've got 3 more shows coming up after races. Obviously, next week's Qatar. Just got an image of Saudi Arabia's track at the minute. It's not even complete. Brilliant. It's not even complete, and it's less than a month away. Well, brilliant. Great, and then it's straight into Abu Dhabi. We will be doing a show once the season's finalised, going through our personal best moments of the season, because there's a hell of a lot for us to go through this year.
Yeah, definitely.
which is great. Paul, do you want to do the final?
Cool. Yeah. So as you can see below, we've got the information below, which is Follow the Racing Line on Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and Facebook. Whichever way you are viewing this today, you'll be viewing it on one of those platforms, and also potentially subscribing to our YouTube channel. It is completely free. We are broadcasting on obviously different. Obviously for different partners. I don't know if you've got those you want to put up a second. Do you want me to do that? There we go. Magic, like it comes up. So Gaffer's Gap, which obviously Martin, who's been on tonight, commenting, thank you very much, Martin, is a big part of. We've also got we're part of the Armchair Pundits as well, which is if you like your football, you'd love that. So obviously just have a look, and there are some shows on there as well. We've also as well got our sister sort of show, which is the Goal Line. We've only done one show so far, but we are going to be looking at some retro stuff, looking at the 90s. So anyone who loves the 90s, we all love the 90s. Come on. Great music, great football kits, great teams, Manchester United. Absolutely brilliant. So, yeah, we're going to be doing that as well. Anything else you want to say before we go?
Yeah, I mean, anybody. So, obviously, with the Racing Line, we're more than just F1. And we give you guys the freedom to post and put your say. But if you fancy doing something like what me and Paul do here on the Racing Line, with something like if you're into your bikes or your rally or something like that, please give us a message. And we've got the tools for you to use to be able to come and do this, because the more people that get on board and talk about these things, the better it is for everybody. And we want to cater things. I know Martin, come next year, he was wanting to do a bit more on the Extreme E, so that's in the pipeline. So yeah, but please, we'll probably put a post out about that as well, just to refresh things for people.
We've got the room at the end, haven't we? We've got room at the end, so to basically have you guys more involved. Maybe jump up and down your sofas as well. On that note, I'll put on there. I'm going to stick on. We're going to say goodbye.
Yeah.
And we will see you in
Qatar in a week.
Qatar in a week's time.
Well, we're not going, but
no,
no. See you later.
See you later.
I don't know, could be.
When Moody said, I'll stop pretending. I made my bed, the one you're leading. I'll keep my enemies close. Throw the dogs another bone. Now watch them run. When will I learn? Lost religion. Instead it burns. There's something missing. In your garden flowers grow, but you chose the ugly rose. We're out of touch. We're out of touch. But the skies are falling down on me. And I cried my lonely self to sleep. Could you imagine if only
into Sheringham, and Solskjaer has won it! Shevchenko misses. He saved it! The European Cup is returning to England and to Anfield. Liverpool are champions of Europe again. To do so. The FA Cup goes to Leicester City.